What's going on, guys? I'm, as always, Mr. Grimreaper 2 with Dark Knight 97. Tonight, me and Dark Knight 97 head back to 1988, and as we discuss one of Disney's most notorious films. This is the 100th episode of Back in Time, and this is our review of the one and only Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Enjoy! What's going on, guys? I'm, as always, Mr. Grimreaper 2 alongside Dark Knight 97, and welcome everybody to another edition of Back in Time. This is the historic 100th episode. I've been doing this shit for fucking 3 years, and finally we're at the 100th episode.
Oh yeah, we reached it.
We have finally reached 100 fucking episodes of Back in Time, but tonight is very special. It's a very special episode because, as I said in the intro, we're going to review one of Disney's most notorious films. This was the 1980. We're going to review the 1988 classic, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. This film was directed by the one and only Robert Zemeckis. This film is based on the book Who Censored Roger Rabbit by Gary K. Wolfe. This film stars the late Bob Hoskins, Christopher Lloyd, Charles Fleischer, Slubby K, and Joanna Cassidy. And not to mention, this film also stars the one and only brings together classic characters from Disney and Warner Brothers as well.
That's right.
So we're going to talk about this. So we're going to go through the plot. Matter of fact, if you guys have not seen this movie, what the hell are you doing? Get off here. Go pick it up on Blu-ray or DVD, or even go watch it online or something.
Yeah. And
come back, because me and Knight are about to relive our fucking childhoods. This movie, before we start, this movie, I saw this fucking movie when I was growing up. When I saw this movie, the first time I ever saw this movie on VHS was back in 1994.
Wow.
That was the very first time I ever saw this movie. Was back in 1994 when I was a kid, when I was little. This movie was hilarious. This movie is kind of, how can I put it in the way you can understand it? This movie was basically you couldn't make this movie. You couldn't make this movie nowadays because of the whole Me Too bullshit and all this other stuff that's going on now.
Yeah.
But not to mention, there it is again. This film was put in the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress for being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant.
Yes. In 2016, it was elected for that, so that's great, you know. Anyway, yeah, as Rim said, him and I grew up. I also had the VHS when I was a kid. Around the same year, coincidentally. I think, you know, in the 90s growing up, I watched this. I loved it. This is how I got to know the actor, the late Bob Hoskins. Because of this film, I know much about it. Mm-hmm. And of course, you know. So, but yeah, we're going to go with the plot and we're going to give our thoughts. So again, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's an old classic. We do recommend it, but anyway. So yeah, let's get into this.
Alright. In 1947's Los Angeles, Toons act in their theatrical cartoon shorts as with live-action films. They regularly interact with real people and animals and reside in an animation cityscape called Toontown. Private Detective Eddie Valiant and his brother Teddy once worked closely with the Toons on several famous cases, but after Teddy was killed by a Toon who dropped a piano on his head, Eddie lapsed in alcoholism, lost his sense of humor, and vowed never to work for Toons again. R.K. Maroon, head of Maroon Cartoon Studios, is concerned about the recent poor performances of one of its biggest stars, Roger Rabbit. Maroon hires Eddie to investigate rumors about Roger's attractive wife, Jessica, who I had a crush on big time when I was a kid.
Oh my God. Who did? Who did?
Being romantically involved with a businessman known as Marvin Acme, owner of both the Acme Corporation and Toontown. After watching Jessica perform at an underground nightclub, Eddie secretly photographs her and Acme playing patty cake in her dressing room, which he shows to Roger. Roger angrily declares that he and his wife will be happy, and he flees. The next morning, Acme is discovered dead at his factory, where a safe has fallen onto his head, and evidence points to Roger being responsible. While investigating, Eddie meets Judge Doom, played by the phenomenal Christopher Lloyd, Toontown's sinister judge, and the Toon Patrol, Doom's weasel henchman, whom he has hired to find Roger. Doom has formulated an acidic chemical substance known as the Dip, which is capable of killing the otherwise invulnerable Toons. Eddie later runs into Roger's Toon co-star, Baby Herman, who believes Roger is innocent and that Acme's missing will, which will give the Toons ownership of Toontown, may be the very key to his murder. In his office, Eddie finds Roger, who begs him to help exonerate him. Eddie reluctantly hides Roger in a local bar where his girlfriend Dolores works. Jessica approaches Eddie and says that Maroon forced her to pose for those photographs so he could blackmail Acme. Doom and the Toon Patrol discover Roger, and he and Eddie makes him drink whiskey. But he and Eddie escape with Benny, a Toon taxi cab. They flee to a theater where Eddie tells Roger about Teddy's death. As they leave with Dolores, Eddie sees a newsreel detailing the sale of Maroon cartoons in Cloverleaf to Cloverleaf Industries, a mysterious corporation that bought the city's trolley network shortly before Acme's murder. Eddie goes to the studio to interrogate Maroon, leaving Roger to guard outside, but Jessica knocks Roger out and puts him in the trunk. Maroon tells Eddie that he blackmailed Acme into selling his company so he could sell the studio, that admits he only did so out of fear for the safety of the Toons. Maroon is shot and killed by an unseen assailant before he can explain the consequences of the missing will. Eddie spots Jessica fleeing the scene and, thinking she is the culprit, follows her into Toontown. Once he finds her, Jessica reveals that it was Doom who killed Acme and Maroon, and that Acme gave her his will for safekeeping. But she discovers that the will was blank. She and Eddie was captured by Doom and the Weasels. At the Acme factory, Doom reveals himself as the sole shareholder of Cloverleaf Industries, and explains his plot to destroy Toontown with a machine loaded with dip, so he can build a freeway in its place and force people to drive it once he puts the trolley network out of production. Roger unsuccessfully attempts to save Jessica, and the couple is tied onto a hook in front of the machine's water cannon. Eddie performs a comedic vaudeville act, causing the wheels to die of laughter, while he kicks their leader into the machine's dip vat. Eddie then fights Doom, who is flattened by a steamroller but survives, exposing him as the very Toon who killed Teddy. Doom is eventually defeated when Eddie empties the machine's dip supply onto him and dissolves. The empty machine crashes through the wall into Toontown, where it is destroyed by the train. Various Toons run in to see the remnants of Doom's human disguise, and Eddie reveals him to the arriving police officers as Acme's murder, thus clearing Roger's name. Eddie discovers that Roger inadvertently wrote a love letter for Jessica on Acme's will, which was written in reappearing ink, and Toontown is handed over to the Toons. Having regained his sense of humor, Eddie happily walks into Toontown with Dolores alongside Roger, Jessica, and the other Toons, thus ending the 1988 classic Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yes, sir.
Now let us discuss this shit here.
What?
This fucking movie was ahead of its time. I'm gonna just put it out there right now. This fucking movie was ahead of its time. You have never seen a live action animated movie like this, where they put both live action and also they put live action and also cartoon characters in the very same world.
Yeah.
It had, and not to mention, for a Disney movie, this fucking movie had dark tones to it as well. That's why this movie was one of the that's why this movie is one of the greatest fucking film noirs you have ever seen in your fucking life.
Yeah.
I loved I loved Bob Hoskins as Eddie. You can when he talks about his brother, you can feel his sadness, you can feel his anger against the Toons. But when it's revealed, the scare, and I'm gonna say it right now, this movie gave me nightmares when I was a kid, because there's a scene in this fucking movie, and you know it too, dude. There's a fucking scene in this movie where Christopher Lloyd is discovered as a Toon.
Yes. What he does. Oh God. Yeah, I know what scene you're talking about.
He takes his eyes pop out of his fucking head, and all you see is cartoon eyes.
And the daggers and stuff,
and this movie was fucking this movie was goddamn creepy. The weasels, Doom's henchmen, were assholes in this movie.
Oh, the weasels! I hated them.
That's why I'm so happy. That's why I was so happy that they died laughing.
Oh, of course.
So,
yes, I hate them.
But what did you think of this movie, dude? What did you think of Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Well, I thought this movie was funny. It was good because, like I said, this played a big role in my childhood growing up. Like you said, the VHS. Of course, it got lost when we moved around a lot. But
yeah.
I'm looking to purchase it myself on Blu-ray or whatever, because I haven't seen it on Blu-ray before, so I'm looking to find it and grab it, because this is one of my very favorite movies ever as a kid, aside from Home Alone, the first one, and all the classic Disney, Lion King, Hunchback, Go Down the Lat, and all those. This was also one of my favorites in my collection that I've ever had, and I enjoyed it. And I agree with him on a couple of things, because yes, there's some creepy stuff thrown in the mix, but it's mostly funny. But yeah, I admit that part with Judge Doom when he. So those spoilers, by the way, those you may not know, but there's a part where he gets run over by this roller or whatever it is. He gets flat.
Yeah.
And basically he blows himself back up, and then his eyes come out, and he has, that was creepy. And it was weird, but with Christopher Lloyd, great actor, you know him from Back to the Future film, the Rich Cooked, Doc Brown, great actor, made a great villain, of course. The late Bob Hoskins, guy with his soul, I know he passed away already. he did a great job at it. You know, he made a great. He's played in other films too. He played in the original Mario Brothers film as Mario.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about. You know, he has. He was a great actor, and you know, that's the guy with soul. You know, he did a great job. And some people here in the cast have passed away, but you know, this movie was great again, and you know, this was part of my childhood. And I would watch it. I would love to watch it again. I haven't seen it in a long time, and I would love to watch it again for laughs. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see all the other famous characters, you know, in the film. Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Yosemite Sam,
Betty Boop.
Betty Boop, Donald Duck, Goofy shows up a little bit. Big Bad Wolf, you know, all those characters that him and I know as kids we grew up watching, you know, or in this film and stuff like that. But and I had to feel for Eddie too when talking about the death of brother because you know when you have a brother you're close, and so his brother he was killed. That's a shame. You know, I felt the same. Because I have my brother myself, and you know, I would feel the same if that happened. But in any event, if you guys haven't seen it, I recommend you guys see this movie. It's great. But as my brother would say, please see this film.
Yeah.
And check it out for yourself and stuff. So, yeah.
And I just read here that they talked about making a sequel to this.
Oh, look at here.
I wonder what the fuck a sequel would look like.
The question was proposed. Here it is. Let's discuss the sequel in 1989. Let's see. Later, script who discovered Roger Rabbit. And exciting cannot. Let's see. Let's see. So open to the well, that's a good question. I mean, what would happen? I would want to know what would happen next with Roger. You know.
Yeah, but we never got the sequel. But I would love to see a sequel to this though.
Yeah.
33 fucking years later.
Play Eddie Valley. You just never know. You never know.
Yeah. But yeah, I think me and Knight, as far as everything else goes, we give this movie a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, yes. Right.
Because Who Framed Roger Rabbit was one of those movies that can never be matched again. This movie was so fucking good for its time. This movie was ahead of its time. I'm so fucking I'm still shocked 33 years later. Robert Zemeckis, I gotta give Robert Zemeckis this. He had the balls. He had the balls to do a film noir based on cartoon characters in live action.
Yes.
In live action, before anybody ever thought of this, Bob Zemeckis was the first motherfucker to do this. And this movie has a lot of balls for how it portrays the cartoon characters in this movie, for how it portrays the live action people in this movie. And yeah, I give this motherfucker a 10 out of 10. 100 fucking percent. I don't care about the controversies surrounding this movie. I don't give a damn about that. This movie still is my childhood. This movie was my childhood growing up. I loved this movie as a kid, and I will still love it as an adult until I turn into an old man. I think the legacy of this movie is that it changed how animation was back in those days, and it also changed how movies were back in those days. Because you have never seen anything like this in your life. I 100% would say this movie gets an A+ for what it did for movies, and also for what it did for animation as well.
Yeah.
But yeah. Before, do you got any final thoughts, dude, on Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Well, I mean, like I said, watch it if you guys can. Go online and find it. And like I said, I like the A+, because you're seeing two cartoons and reality mixed into one, and that's something that's crazy, that
Yeah.
because normally when you see cartoon, you see animation, you see, cartoon funny stuff, but this one is like the dark side of it, but it's like the cartoon world mixing with the world of reality, and I love how Robert Zemeckis brought that together, I think that was the first time we ever saw something like this, and so, but yeah, again, guys, I recommend it. 10 out of 10, that's a great rating. This played a great role in mine and Grim's childhood. We grew up watching this film, and so if you guys haven't seen it, check it out. Again, it's Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Check it out. See for yourself. What do you guys think about this film? This is a classic, and you don't want to miss a chance to watch it. So yeah, 10 out of 10. Great movie, and again, Godspeed, rest in peace, Bob Hoskins, and some of the cast that passed on. But we recommend it. I recommend it. So guys, watch it for yourself. Check it out.
All right. Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Do you remember watching this as kids? What was your favorite moment from this movie? And I know I'm gonna fucking regret this. Did you like the movie, or did you hate it when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Let us know
Your take.
your take on this in the comment section down below. That's going to be it for us for today, for tonight. That's going to be it. I'm, as always, Mr. Grimreaper with the one and only Dark 997, and we'll see you all in the afterlife. Peace.